At first, it felt like a perfect night. Ethan had cooked dinner himself, candles glowing across the apartment, soft jazz playing in the background, wine poured before I even sat down. For weeks, things between us had been tense and distant, so this sudden effort should have made me happy. Instead, it made me nervous, because he kept checking his phone. Not openly, just quick glances whenever it vibrated beside him. Each time, his expression changed slightly before he forced another smile toward me. "You okay?" I finally asked. "Yeah," he replied too quickly. "Just work stuff." I nodded, pretending to believe him, but something felt wrong, the tension in his shoulders, the way he barely touched his food. The silence that kept falling between us, no matter how hard we tried to act normal. Around midnight, I woke suddenly to an empty bed. My heartbeat instantly quickened. The apartment was dark, except for faint light spilling from the hallway. I sat up slowly and heard low voices somewhere beyond the bedroom door. Ethan's voice, angry. I stepped quietly into the hallway, careful not to make noise. The sound was coming from his office. The door was slightly open. Inside, Ethan stood near the window with his back turned, speaking harshly into his phone. "You promised me she'd never remember," he whispered. My breath caught instantly. Silence followed from the other end before he spoke again. "No, listen to me carefully," he said, panic rising in his voice. "If she finds out what really happened that night, everything is over." Every muscle in my body froze. What night? My chest tightened painfully as I stepped closer to the door without thinking. Then the floor creaked beneath my foot. Ethan turned instantly. For one terrifying second, we just stared at each other in silence. And the fear in his eyes told me one thing immediately. Whatever secret he was hiding, it was much worse than cheating. The next morning, Ethan acted like nothing had happened. He kissed my forehead before work, smiled while making coffee, and casually asked what I wanted for dinner later. If I hadn't seen the panic in his eyes the night before, I almost would have believed him. Almost. But now every word sounded rehearsed. Every smile looked forced, and every second he spent near his phone made my stomach twist tighter. The moment he left the apartment, I went straight to his office. For a few seconds, I just stood there staring at the desk, feeling guilty for what I was about to do. Then I remembered his voice from the night before. If she finds out what really happened that night? My hands shook as I opened the top drawer. Nothing unusual at first. Pens, documents, chargers. Then I noticed a small locked box pushed behind a stack of folders. The key sat taped beneath the desk. Too easy. Like he needed quick access to whatever was inside. The box clicked open softly, and my entire world shifted. Inside were hotel receipts, printed photographs, and a second phone. My pulse pounded harder as I picked up the photos. Most showed unfamiliar places and strangers I didn't recognize. Then I saw myself. I froze instantly. The picture showed Ethan standing beside me outside a hotel at night. Rain soaked my clothes while he held me tightly against him. But I didn't remember it. At all. Confused, I turned the photo over slowly. Written in black ink were 6 words. She still doesn't remember anything. A cold wave rushed through my chest. My breathing became uneven. Why wouldn't I remember this? Suddenly, fragments flashed painfully through my mind. Rain, red lights, someone screaming. Then darkness. I grabbed the edge of the desk to steady myself. And that's when I heard the apartment door unlock. Ethan was home early. My heart nearly stopped as footsteps moved through the apartment toward the office. And for the first time, I realized I might not only be uncovering his secrets, I might be uncovering something terrifying about myself too. After finding the photograph, I couldn't think clearly anymore. The image haunted me constantly. Rain pouring outside the hotel, Ethan holding me tightly, the strange sentence written behind it. She still doesn't remember anything. Remember what? Every time I tried forcing the memory back, my head throbbed painfully, like my mind was fighting to keep something buried. So when Ethan claimed he had another business meeting 2 nights later, I already knew I was going to follow him. The city streets were slick from rain as I stayed several cars behind him, gripping the steering wheel tightly. My pulse quickened when he drove beyond downtown toward an isolated hotel near the edge of the city. The same hotel from the photograph. My stomach dropped instantly. I parked across the street and watched Ethan enter through the side entrance. 10 minutes later, another car arrived. A woman stepped out, elegant, nervous, familiar with him. She hugged herself tightly before disappearing inside after him. Jealousy wasn't what I felt. Fear was. I slipped into the hotel lobby quietly and followed the sound of voices down a dim hallway near the private lounge rooms. Then I heard Ethan speaking. "She's asking questions now." The woman sighed shakily. "You knew this would happen eventually." I thought the memories were gone. My breathing stopped. Memories. The woman lowered her voice. "If she remembers what happened that night, neither of us survives this." Cold panic spread through my chest instantly. Then Ethan said something that shattered me completely. "She wasn't supposed to be there when the accident happened." Accident. The word hit something deep inside me. Suddenly, flashes burst violently through my mind. Broken glass, screaming, blood on my hands. I gasped softly and stumbled backward. The sound echoed louder than I expected. Inside the lounge, silence fell instantly. Then Ethan's voice came sharply. "Did you hear that?" Footsteps moved quickly toward the door, and standing frozen in the dark hallway, I realized one terrifying truth. The secret they were hiding wasn't just about him anymore. It was about me. I ran before Ethan could open the door. My heartbeat pounded violently as I rushed through the hotel hallway, barely breathing until I reached my car. By the time I got home, my hands were still shaking uncontrollably. Accident, blood, memories I couldn't fully hold on to. Nothing felt real anymore. Less than an hour later, the apartment door opened. Ethan walked in slowly, his face pale the moment he saw me waiting in the living room. Neither of us spoke at first. Then I finally whispered, "Tell me the truth." Pain crossed his face instantly. "You followed me. You lied to me," I snapped. "For how long?" He looked exhausted suddenly, like he had been carrying something heavy for years. "I was trying to protect you." That's not an answer. Silence filled the room. Then he sat down slowly, avoiding my eyes. 3 years ago, he began quietly. We were at that hotel together. My chest tightened painfully. There was an accident that night. The word again. My breathing became uneven as flashes returned stronger now. Rain against windows, loud arguing, shattered glass across a hotel floor. "You got hurt," he continued carefully. "Badly." I shook my head immediately. "No, there's more." His silence confirmed it. Tears burned my eyes. "What aren't you telling me?" Ethan finally looked at me then, guilt written across every part of his face. "Someone died that night." The room spun around me. "What?" His voice broke slightly. "And you were there when it happened." A sharp pain exploded through my head. Suddenly, another memory surfaced. A man collapsing. My own scream. Blood staining my hands. I gasped and grabbed the edge of the couch. Ethan moved toward me instantly, but I pulled away. "Don't touch me." Fear flashed in his eyes. Then he whispered the sentence that shattered everything left between us. "You weren't supposed to survive that night." Silence crashed over the room. Because suddenly I realized something horrifying. The accident wasn't random. And whatever happened 3 years ago, someone had wanted me dead. After Ethan's confession, the apartment no longer felt safe. Every wall seemed filled with secrets. Every silence felt dangerous. And worst of all, my memories were returning faster now. Fragments at first, then entire moments. That night, while Ethan slept on the couch, I sat alone in the dark, trying to piece everything together. My head throbbed painfully as flashes replayed over and over again. The hotel hallway, rain outside the windows, a man shouting. Then suddenly, I remembered his face. My breath caught instantly. I knew him, not a stranger, my brother. The realization hit so hard I nearly collapsed. Tears burned my eyes as the final memories crashed back violently. We had argued that night at the hotel. He had discovered something illegal involving Ethan and demanded answers. Voices rose. Tempers exploded. Then came the fight. Glass shattered. My brother lunged toward Ethan, and someone pulled a gun. I gasped sharply as the final image returned completely. Not Ethan. The woman from the hotel. She fired the shot. Everything after that became chaos. Screaming, blood, panic. I remembered falling beside my brother while Ethan dragged me away before the police arrived. My breathing became uneven. He hadn't protected me from the truth. He had hidden me from it. Suddenly, a quiet voice came from behind me. "You remember now." I turned sharply. Ethan stood in the hallway, pale and exhausted. Tears filled my eyes instantly. "You let me believe I was losing my mind. I was trying to save you." "No," I whispered painfully. "You were trying to save yourself." Silence filled the apartment, because we both knew the truth now. He covered up a death. He lied for years, and I had spent all that time loving a man connected to the worst night of my life. Ethan stepped closer carefully. "I never stopped loving you." I looked at him through tears, my chest aching under the weight of everything we had become. "Maybe that's the problem," I whispered. Then I walked away, leaving behind the man who buried the truth, and the version of myself that trusted him.